Hello, everyone. Happy Thursday. It's Thursday, right? Yes, it's Thursday. I had to check really quick. Happy to have you all joining me again today. Welcome back to the attic. It has been great having these conversations so far with you. Today, we're joined by Stephen Smith, who is the former online engagement director for Pete for America and also just all around wonderful human being. A theme I'm sure you're starting to learn about the people we had on the team. And now that we have a candidate in 2020, I think it's really important that we sort of take in a lot of different voices and opinions and think about how we can best be of service ourselves to help our candidate. And also, I have a lot of hot topics for Stefan just to hit on because those are the things I love talking about with him in the office. Not so much politics, just all of our hot takes. So we're going to jump in. We're going to bring Stefan in right away. Let's see if we can bring him in. Hello from Finland again. Awesome.
Hey, sorry.
How are you?
I'm good. We're at home. We're at home.
Yeah.
We're in quarantine.
Let's talk about the sign behind your head.
Oh, my contents. Okay. It's inverted. No, so this hung. It hung in the office on the second floor, and I basically when Pete, you don't actually probably know this, Chasten, because why would you? When Pete announced he wasn't running, there was a moment of pause in the office, and then everybody just started taking things off the wall. And we're far enough past it now where I can admit to it. So I grabbed the South Carolina sign done in the Pete font from the design toolkit because I'm from South Carolina. And then and then Dan Pino grabbed me that from the second floor and was like, "You are content." And I was like, "Oh, I don't know what you really want from me, but I will take this sign now and hold on to it."
You are content. I love that moment of like, oh no, the campaign's over. We should probably take stuff.
Like just off the walls. Just people deal with grief in real ways. It's
Well, I love it. Thank you. Thanks for taking time to chat with me today.
Of course.
Why don't you just give us a brief for those people who are watching who might not know you, although it seems like a lot of people in the comments are very excited to talk to you. Tell us just really quickly who you are, where you're from, where you're at right now, where you're in isolation right now.
I am Stephen Smith. I was the online engagement director for Pete for America. Before that, I was the deputy platforms director for Pete for America. Before that, I was the creative content manager for Pete for. I rose like a phoenix. And then before that, I was working for the State Party of New Mexico, Democratic Party of New Mexico, and I worked with Senator Heinrich as his chief digital strategist. I worked as the digital director for Marty Walsh in Boston, who was running for mayor re-election in 2017. I was Hillary Clinton's deputy digital director in Michigan, HQ in Detroit before that. And then before that, I was doing season 4 of Drunk History, which was a show on Comedy Central. And then before that, I was getting a PhD. So it's been a journey. It's been a, girl, it's been a journey.
All right, so you've had some jobs and you're not political at all.
Yes.
Okay.
Just a few. No, and now I'm in South Bend because I accidentally signed a 13-month lease, which I just found out about yesterday. Great. Who signs a 13-month lease? So I live in South Bend until June. So I'm just hanging out.
Great. I mean, honestly, the rent is probably cheaper here than.
I am overpaying. I was overpaying for this apartment, and that was fine. But now that I'm living here every day, and it's like I work here, it's like you've been in my apartment. My apartment is the apartment of like a divorced dad who's trying to get custody of his kids. It's like and prove he's an adult. Like it's a very particular type of design aesthetic because I'm never home. And now that I
don't know. I saw Marriage Story, and I think your apartment's much nicer.
Oh, I love that. The bar is the floor, but I will take that compliment.
Okay, let's talk about you. So you found Pete for America. And
I did.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about that, and then eventually your last title, since you climbed the ladder a little bit.
My way to Pete was like super wild because this is again really good evidence of like you want to make God laugh, make a plan, right? There's just, if you had asked me in December of 2018 who I wanted to work for, I would have said Elizabeth Warren. If you had asked me in January, I would have said Kamala. I got offered a job for Steyer's campaign, I turned down. I got offered a job from the Klobuchar campaign, I turned down. I was really trying to figure out, like, very sort of Harry Potter, trying to find the wand that fits. And meanwhile, the entire time, it was just people that were ancillary to y'all being like, there's a mayor in Indiana, you should, like, he's hired. Like, so a friend of Liz's is a mutual friend of mine, John Margolick, who, like, knows Pete from, like, military stuff, is, like, whispering in my ears, all these things. And so it's like, let me apply. And then I got a phone call, and then I got hired, and I was like, employee 17 or something.
Yeah, you were there early. I remember the days of just, like, kind of wandering around our office, our first of, like, 5 offices, right? And there was just, like, a giant room and then your desk.
Okay, with the bomb projector and an orchid and candles everywhere. Like, I had a whole cave in that first office that was just me. And it was like, I was so sad when we left that office for, like, a conventional, like, open, like, a real office for real people, because we, you know, were doing well and had to hire people.
Yeah.
And it stopped being small. And it was like, oh, wait, I don't get half a room to myself anymore to just like hang out and like burn candles and like find my chi. So it was like, all right.
I loved getting to know you in those early days. And then it just, the campaign just blew up. And then every time I'd come to the office, there'd be like 50 new people. Yeah. And so I started just compartmentalizing people into like groups that first I already knew. Like, are you in a Stefan circle?
Or are you
that?
Yeah.
Are you in a Greta thing?
Do you remember when we met? Because it was one of the most mortifying moments of my life. No, because, like, well, first off, we met, like, virtually because my dad passed away, and you saw on Twitter, and you called, and Pete called, and that was, like, really heartwarming. And what I said to you on the phone then was, like, I really didn't want you to meet me like this, so can we pretend when we meet again we haven't met, right? And you were wonderful. You were like, yes. So you come into the office. I go for the professional, like handshake, because I'm meeting this campaign. He's maybe the first gentleman, and I'm going to be serious. I go for that. Like, I poke you in the stomach because you're coming at me with the hug, and I'm going for the handshake, and completely messed this up. I turned around after, like, we do our little pleasantry. I'm like, oh shit, I just stabbed him in the stomach with my hand. I ran into a door, like, right behind me, and hit that door, and was like, okay, back to my desk. And then I went to my desk and tweeted about it. It was,
I don't remember this at all. And
then it didn't happen.
I wish I would have taken someone's advice early on, and they were just like, journal everything, right? Everything down, because eventually, you know, the out of the ordinary and the weird and the funny will just become ordinary. And then there's so many times in the campaign when someone would tell me a story like that. Like, the first time I met you when you came through Derry, this really embarrassing thing happened. Like, I don't remember any of that. Like, the weirdest things, which makes me feel a lot better, because we don't have enough time. There's this whole story about how one time I pulled Barack Obama's finger accidentally in a handshake, and it's mortified me ever since. But then you run, and you're like, oh, that happens every day.
Right.
He doesn't remember. But when that happened, I was sure, like, the Obamas went to bed that night, and they were like, what was up with Mayor Pete's partner? What is his deal? You know, while they're, like, fluffing the pillows, like, let's never invite them.
Just, like, hanging out, just, you know, he pulled my finger, Michelle. He pulled my finger.
They're never coming back ever again.
They're not invited. They can't sit with us.
Okay, we have a lot to jump into.
Sorry, we're ready. We're doing this professional. We got this.
Okay, so I loved how innovative the campaign was, although I was never a very political person, and this was really my first big campaign. It just seemed like the campaign was very innovative, and it seemed like you were always cooking up different things and pitching different things and trying very different things. Can you talk a little bit about what you loved innovating, and maybe what you thought we were doing differently that you loved?
So I think it's great that I think what happened is I became the face of this sort of boldness thing, and sort of the rule of the road. I won that award at our retreat, of just sort of like the person who is in the meeting pushing forward, but like none of that push forward happens unless, like, I'm thinking Carrie Gooch, who was our video director, right? I'm thinking Nick Corneto, who eventually became our copywriter. I'm thinking of Garrett, and I'm thinking of all those people who, because they were so talented, the world was my oyster. There was a period where we just hit a hot streak from, like, I want to say October until first week of December, where everything we were putting out was fire. And it was like, you know what? Let's do a fishbowl. Cute. Let's throw them in the thing. Let's go. Right. Or I was a huge fan of policy rollout videos. So really doing staffer stories. Nobody was doing staffer content the way we were. And for me, that was a strategic thing that we were doing because the most important, like everybody, no, Pete's not going to say a bad thing about himself. He needs validators. He needs people around him vouching for him who've been in that space, who are standing up for him for a reason. So of course, let's talk to the staff. So I'm thinking again of the disability policy rollout, right? Emily's video still makes me cry. I'm thinking about it's just tears.
Incredible.
It's tears. I'm thinking about the LGBTQ rollout, which had these amazing stories. I'm thinking Jose, who I think was your pre-guest last week. Jose Morales had a wonderful video. Andres had a wonderful video. DJ Kessler had a wonderful video. Like Anthony Maracute, like if you think about the way we let our staff tell their personal stories and step to the front, I think nobody's done that and nobody is doing that. Or at least not in the way we were, which was always positive. There was no such thing as a staffer attack dog. It was, no, let's be positive and build belonging and build really good content. So from the living stills, which when we do policy rollouts, were like the beautiful images that barely moved and the text came across the screen. That was because I hate graphics. I hate static graphics for like, here's our policy on, health equity. It's like, no, let's make something beautiful. And I remember going to Carrie and being like, we need to make something beautiful. Let's make something beautiful. And her and Garrett made me beautiful for every single policy rollout in all the sizes. So really focusing on the user experience. Do people think this is beautiful? Do people think this is interesting? When we're scrolling political content, your political content lives right above, the hot new movie trailer and right below a Miley Cyrus tweet, right? The competition for people's like attention spans online are huge. And a lot of us in politics haven't realized that means we have to up our game. It used to be political content was judged independently. Nobody expected a digital ad for a campaign to like win any awards or be amazing. And that's completely changed. It's called, in sociological research, the mediaization of politics, the ways in which politics become more and more like the regular traditional media we consume. And so we need to realize that the competition isn't us versus when we were running the other candidates, although it was for content. It's us versus them versus literally every other thing that's on Twitter, or on your Facebook feed, or on your Instagram timeline. So like that means the bar is massive. And we got to reach it every single time. I'm so proud of that. And we did.
You did. And oh my gosh, those staff rollout videos always got me. Because the other thing I loved about it was like, these people are like, they're the heartbeat of this campaign. These are people, the hundreds of people back home at HQ who are fueling this campaign and who are, the lifeblood and the soul of this campaign. Let's put a face to that, right? It's not just one candidate out there. It's all of these people that obviously believed in Pete, but that like we love just as much, right? And it was so nice to just share that family with other people, right? Because I also felt like it represented sort of the diversity of the country as well, which was really important.
Well, when you think about what campaign your husband built, right? I'm thinking it was 40% people of color, more than 50% women. Women actually made more in terms of pay than the men on the campaign. When you looked at it, like, what was it, 30% LGBTQ identified? Like this campaign, I haven't been in a space with this many queer people. I have not been in a workspace with this many people of color from this many different backgrounds. It was honestly hard. It's going to be hard going into other workplaces, and it's going to set the bar for me about what I expect rooms to look like when I walk into them. And I walk into rooms now and it's like, I was on a Zoom call yesterday and I was like, I'm the only man on this Zoom call. And they're like, oh, and I was like, I'm just saying, it's a good thing. Let's do that. It's happening. So just making sure then that you're building better spaces that are built around belonging, and making sure that we take that feeling. I want to take that feeling as a staffer, and I know others do, into the spaces we go so that the ethos spreads.
Absolutely. And I think whoever gets to snag you up next is going to be really lucky. Okay. So Dale on Twitter asks, now that most of us are stuck at home, what are some ways that we can still be involved and help the presidential nominee as well as down ballot Democratic candidates?
Do it. Get involved. Like literally just there's so much hemming and hawing right now of like, oh my God, this moment has changed campaigns, and how are we gonna reach voters? And stop it. A person online is a person offline too. This isn't rocket science. I'm not a genius. What I am is a person who cares about other people. So if you want to get started where you're already talking to people. So if you've got a group chat going right now, so pause. The way to think about it is levels of engagement. Hopping your friends immediately and jumping into a group chat and saying, hey, everybody go to Joe Biden's website and sign up to be a volunteer right now. That's a hard ask right now. You gotta work your friends up to them. So instead, get your group chat together and be like, hey, the census is out. Here's the link. Let's do a Zoom like happy hour. And let's all fill out the census together and drink and talk, right? That's a low barrier to entry ask that's very small that most people are going to do anyway. Let's do it together. Let's get them organized. And if they listen and they do it, great. Now you've got a little posse that you've already identified that you can make a political-ish ask and get them involved. So I think that's one. I think that two is like, if you're just trying to get involved and you're ready, I think, of course, sign up on Joe's website if you're a Democrat, obviously, to volunteer, or future former Republican, or whoever, however you come to us, sign up, volunteer. I want to advocate really hard for state parties. You have a state Democratic Party. You have a local Democratic Party. There are precincts that have Democrats in them that are doing stuff. If you're looking to get involved, literally just call up your state party and ask them, hey, can you direct me to, so if I were in Albuquerque, New Mexico, right? It'd be like, oh, Democratic Party of New Mexico, the West Side Democrats for Bernalillo County. And it's like, they meet twice a week and like, get involved. Those meetings are already happening. I think we don't do enough to promote what local Democratic politics looks like.
Oh, absolutely. And there's
like how
so
to get
many
involved.
people who are up for, like, they're running right now, who need not only our dollars, but our digital strength as well. But they're running in races that are so crucial, and that's often we don't find out about those seats or about those offices for most people until something terrible happens. Like, wait, I didn't know homophobe was sitting on that seat. Right. How did that ever happen? There's so many down ballot races that need your help right now. And I love your suggestion. I really need people to reach out and get involved, because it is not, we said this the whole time, right? It's not just the presidency that matters. You got to look at those state and local elected offices. Those are the people who are doing it too.
I tweeted this earlier today of like, can you imagine how different the world would be if in 2018 we didn't put in the work to make Nancy Pelosi Speaker of the House and elect all of those Democrats? Can you imagine a world where we're dealing with a global pandemic and Democrats have no seat at the table? We have no representation, no power or levers to pull. We did that in 2018, not knowing there was going to be a pandemic, but because we knew Democrats needed a space. We got to do that again in 2020 at every single level. The moment we're in right now is going to require us to marshal pretty much every type of institutional power we have in this country. And that's not just the candidate at the top of the ticket, that's all the way down, because that's how success is going to be judged. It's going to be local boards, local school boards, your local city council, right? These things that maybe you haven't paid attention to because in the grand scheme of things, who cares? Well, now's the time where they're really going to matter, because as we're seeing, local governments having a resurgence because the federal government is being headed by Donald Trump.
Next question. Bless. Okay. So another question from Instagram. Heard you say, and I believe this was on perhaps David Plus podcast. You said Pinterest is a social media platform that has been underused. Tell us a little bit about that thinking, and then what other platforms and perhaps methods of connection and campaigning should Democrats be paying more attention to right now?
I saw a thing on Twitter, and I don't know if this was like real yet, of like, there are Joe Biden volunteers who are putting together a volunteer Joe Biden Pinterest thing. And I have not screamed that. I've talked to your husband. The first conversation I really had with Pete was about like, if y'all remodel your bathroom, you have to let me start a Pinterest. Like, I'm so on board with Pinterest. Pinterest is, one, they spend an incredible amount of time on the site. They're 80% like women. Although more men are now joining, they're more likely to be educated. They're more likely to have disposable income. They're more like if we're talking about the Democratic voters who flipped the seats in 2018 and really, really helped us like actually hold on, like grab the House of Representatives. It's the Pinterest block of voters. Pinterest is the female equivalent of Reddit, right? In terms of time spent on it for women. And so in 2016, Hillary Clinton was on Pinterest a little bit, but it was a little bit top heavy and it was a little too sort of corporate-y. What I think we can do on Pinterest is really make it a community space. What are, you know, for me, my dream is like crowdsourcing recipes on Pinterest and then having the candidate make them while telling you stories, and like, or like flooding the place with like inspirational quotes. Like I wanted a Pinterest for Pete so badly, because it's like, what it really is about creating intimacy at a distance. People, it's the whole thing we hear all the time about like, do you want to have a beer with this candidate? And it's like, no, that's a dumb praxis, and I reject that sort of way of thinking. However, there's something to be said for feeling like the person that you're representing, you know them, right? You know sort of more about them and who they are as a person. And Pinterest is one of those places that breaks down the barrier, because you can't play traditional politics on Pinterest. You can't put up an attack ad on the really nice, wonderful website where like Mormon moms are curating their beautiful lives and people are sharing quotes. Like Pinterest is so aspirational, you can't be negative. So it forces us to imagine a different type of aspirational politics. So that's like my spiel about Pinterest is like real. And it's one of my biggest regrets from this campaign is I did not have the muscle or the power yet to get y'all on Pinterest. We'll next ride around the road, the road or whatever, we'll get a Pinterest for y'all. That's going to be like my project number one.
All right. What did you actually, okay, I got to jump ahead because I know we're going to go over time and I want to get to everything.
Okay.
So
I'll go quick from now on. Super quick, 30 seconds.
No, you're fine. This was always a problem with me on the trail. I would constantly, Emily was always being like, let's shorten up a bit.
Let's wrap it up. Right.
Yeah. Okay. Stepping aside from digital content, on the campaign, you were known for hosting a rather impressive brunch.
Yes.
What's your go-to menu for brunch?
Oh, go-to menu for brunch is cheese grits. Grits are amazing. Grits can go with anything. Grits you can scale up or down depending on however many people come. If somebody shows up with their new friend, like, oh my God, the first time Emily came to brunch, Emily brought 3 people I had never met before. It's fine. I had grits as part of so I just scaled up the grits, right? So that's like one. I think I make a pepper, sausage, onion thing that goes on the grits, and then you put scrambled eggs on top. So it's this like, I'm not a fancy cook. So you do like breakfast, like, so it's this like melange thing of different types of spicy peppers, red onion, sausage, and you just like let them go for 2.5, 3 hours. Like you just like stir it, like let them keep going. I've got it on my, I've got a version of it I made years and years ago on my page right now. So when this is over, go look, you can see it on my Instagram page. And you put that in the grits and the sauce, and it's like, oh my God, it's so good. And then you just like, and then you put some eggs on top, and then you throw some biscuits around it. Like I feed people, I don't make pretty food. Anybody who'll come to my brunch, like there are never any pictures of the food.
Not necessary.
I cook like I'm feeding field hands. I cook like my Mima, like I'm 70 and it's the 40s and my boys are coming back from the fields. And it's like, come on, y'all, let's go. Get yourself set up, y'all. Come on. And like doing the thing. And so like, anyway, so that's what I do. But like the real actual reason behind brunch is because I'm actually an introvert. And I have like a really hard time. I don't like really drink. So like going out and doing the thing isn't like the best way for me to bond with people. Instead, it's like, let me feed you. Like come over, you're in my space, which makes me a little less, like a little bit more calm than like going out to Corby's or go drinking somewhere, right? Like, I'll feed you and everything will be great. And then you can leave. And so anyway, that's the brunch. The brunch is great.
So we did like a staff contest at one point, and I think you won like wine and cheese with Chasten.
I did win. You were I'm sitting on the love seat in the exact spot I sat that night. Like the room is arranged the exact same way.
And it's a small group, and there was like enough wine and cheese for a family. I appreciate that.
Okay, first off, I didn't buy that wine and cheese.
Really?
That wine? No. What's her face?
Team. advancing.
The investment team, Elizabeth, went out and bought that massive platter of that cheese. I'm not gonna lie, I ended up having to throw some of it out because it was too much cheese. It was too much cheese. It was too much cheese, Elizabeth.
Not a real thing. Too much cheese, not enough people.
Not enough people. Not enough people.
Yeah. You need a cheese party. Okay. If you were to make a post-campaign Buttigieg, and for those who don't know, Stefan was one of the brainchilds of Buttigieg, and we had way too much fun in that Pride.
Your Pride one I listen to all the time, and then the official Pride one I listen to all the time. Like, that was actually the first time us working together was working on the Pride playlist.
I think I made my separate Pride playlist because we put it out for my birthday, I think, which is during Pride. And I think I made that in like 30 minutes.
Yeah, and it was real hard because I'm real big on playlist transitioning between songs, and you were like, "No, here's 3 Reba McEntire songs. You're gonna take it." It's like
you're at 30 songs. Congratulations.
Here you go.
Go. I listened to it the other day. Actually, I'm gonna pull it up on my computer right here. Because there are no good transitions.
No, it's hard. I'm sorry, I snorted. I can't. I couldn't make it work, Chad.
There is a transition from "I'm Alive" by Celine Dion into "Jump for My Love" by the Pointer Sisters.
I did the best I could. I did the
Great
best
songs, but like
they're your list. You gave me. You gave me those. You were busy.
Oh,
you were very busy.
I'm not blaming you at all. I remember everyone kept telling me like, you have to do this. I'm like, oh, okay. I love Reba.
Just like here.
Good. Can we have more Lizzo? Anywho. Okay, so anyway, if you would make a post-campaign Buttigieg, what would you put on it right now? What are you listening to right now? What do you like?
Leon has a new song coming out tomorrow. I'm still listening to Lord Huron. Jose Morales just released his actual spring 2000, like his playlist for the month. He releases I'm listening to that and trying to build a better one because my goal in life is to be better than Jose Morales. Yes, I said it out loud. And so like I'm listening to that. I'm really actually having a hard time getting into new stuff. Just because of the moment we're in, and I love the Weeknd's he's like, we've rediscovered late 70s, early 80s disco. So it's like Dua Lipa has rediscovered it. Like The Weeknd is giving me, like, I'm just like, yes, like late 70s, early 80s disco techno vibes. That's like my mood at the moment. I have a new playlist I'm building. I'm building one right now called an unscheduled vibe check. And so
please share.
Done. It'll be tweeted out later this week.
So one of the, I would say, wonderful things and also torturous things of being in isolation, Pete is making me work out every day. And I know. So we have a weight rack in the basement, and I like lifting weights, but I can never get the playlist right. And
girl, I got you.
Pete doesn't care at all. And so and this is why we love him, but also like one eyebrow him sometimes. I can't do the one eyebrow. But this great song will be on. He'll be like, "Is this Lady Gaga?" No. It's not.
Because her album got delayed, Peter. Come on.
I know you've been reading all about the coronavirus.
The real news is that it's been delayed, and I'm heartbroken about it.
That's my job. I have to update him on those things because he's like, "Oh, I was on a 3-hour policy call about the economy." Like, I'm done with that for now.
No. Here's a mixtape. I love you. Listen to this.
Correct. Okay. Are you reading or watching anything? I usually just wrap up the interview by asking people how they're taking care of themselves. So, do you have any suggestions?
How am I thinking? I think it's helpful for me to go back to pop culture moments that are just like I'm already settled into. So I'm actually on season 3 of a rewatch of The Vampire Diaries, just because like it's trash. It's my trash. I just read David Plouffe's Citizen's Guide to Defeating Donald Trump, which is really good. There's a new book I'm reading right now, like Is There Gold in These Hills, which is this really amazing story of these Chinese Americans in the West. It's magical realism, but set in the late 19th century. It's a lot and it's amazing. And so I'm like going through that. And then I'm actually in the middle of my reread of 100 Years of Solitude, because I read 100 Years of Solitude at the end of every big experience. It gives me perspective. So like every time a moment is over, I stop and it's like I go back to that book, and it reminds me that everything's cyclical and that this will come again, and that like I just sort of really get myself in a space to like live in this moment and say goodbye to this moment. I spent the last year. Campaigns are different and they're weird in the sense that like if you work for McDonald's, you're not like personally invested in Ronald McDonald. You know what I mean? Like I work for Pete for America, but that's not one of those jobs where you just like clock in. And so like to give yourself over and like really push so hard for one individual person, like it's super hard. And so to take that space and be on the other side of it, I'm actually sort of very fortunate and blessed because it's like I know where I'm living. I have food. I have money. I'm like my sister has lost both her jobs because of like this coronavirus thing. Like I'm so fortunate to have the moment and the space I need right now to like really come out of this like emotionally settled and like prepared. I'm gonna come out of, let me be very clear, I'm gonna come out of this big as a house. I'm gonna be fat as hell and y'all gonna have to take it, and I'm sorry, you're gonna take these curves. But
Who cares?
who cares? I'm sorry, it's big boy summer. Y'all had a hot girl summer last year. It's a big boy summer this year. Like, but I'm also hoping to come out of it emotionally settled and ready for the next adventure. So that's what I'm doing, and that's how I'm taking care of myself.
Good. I love that. I'm glad that you have that, and I'm glad that you're in that headspace. Peter and I were talking about this last night. We've been reflecting on this a lot because I was checking in with my cousin who lives in Chicago. I think their apartment's like 1,000 square feet maybe, right? They've got a 3-year-old.
Yeah.
Like I can't imagine like losing my job, being stuck in that small space, and like we're so fortunate and lucky to have this moment. And I'm glad that you're thinking about that as well. Like I've got no complaints, right?
No.
I got roof, I got food. I really appreciate you taking time to have this conversation. One last question: what's next for you? Everybody wants to know.
Well, okay. Oh, girl, I should have. What's next is I don't know. Like, let's just be completely honest. It's like right now I'm consulting. So if people are thinking about how do we do digital or how do we do organizing or like how do we really, really try and tell interesting stories when you can't tell those stories in person. Hi, I'm your person. I'm consulting. Go to thestephensmith.com. Send me an email. However, like in terms of like a job, I'm still waiting. So we'll see what happens. As soon as I know something, I will tweet it. I promise.
Good, good. Well, we all have our fingers and toes crossed for you. We loved having you on the campaign. Anyone would be more than lucky to have you working on their team. Please continue to take care of yourself.
Of course.
And please share those playlists with me.
I will. And also love on the dogs for me, please. Especially Truman. Buddy gets all the attention, but I love me some Truman.
Truman just sits under the piano all day. I don't know if you saw in my story today, but he actually came up in the attic.
And he was just chilling
here. And he like sat in a little doggy bed and fell asleep. And I was like, no one move.
I love him. He's my favorite because he's very serious. And I'm like, all right, I feel you. I
can't wait to show the world Seamus.
I heard Anne got Seamus. I'm so ready. I'm so ready.
Yes, he has strong Truman energy. Clearly he came from the same rescue organization actually as Truman, from Kentucky. And clearly like there's some abuse there and stuff. So he's a little skittish, but like he loves Anne already. Like loves her in her lap.
You've met Anne. I love Anne. Can you tell Anne I said hey? I love her.
I will. Stephen, it's so good to see you.
Of course. I mean, this has always been a pleasure. I'll send you the playlist when we're done. And if you need me for anything else, all you have to do is ever ask. I'm here.
You got it. Continue rocking it. I'll see you soon.
Thanks, Team Pete. Everybody watching, we appreciate you.
All right. I'll see you soon.
Bye.
All right. Stephen Smith, so wonderful. Somebody hire him. He's incredible. So many incredible people that made up Pete for America. I'll have Greta Carnes on next week. Who's just an incredible organizer. She is one of the main reasons that Pete won Iowa. She's a brilliant mind, and I can't wait to share her with you. Tomorrow's going to be really exciting. Joined by a friend that I made on the trail, traveling around, crisscrossing the country. You might know him as Doug Emhoff. He is the husband of Senator Kamala Harris. He's going to be joining me tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. Eastern. So we're switching up the time just a little bit so we can coordinate our schedules. But Doug will be joining me here tomorrow at 6 p.m. Make sure you keep taking care of yourselves, checking on the people who need you, checking on the people around you. And don't forget, call your mom. It's been great, everyone. Bye-bye.